Yeah, I think it's I think it's a good, I think it's good what you said. I mean, I think we should really, highly recommend that they wear masks. I think that's the important. I mean, sorry about that. It's not behaving. Was behaving. Um, I think I closed it out. Anyway, so I don't want to go back and spend time on it, but I did the point is I want to get in there and show you that you can go around there. And so if you go under online courses and in-person courses, I know it's very, very small, but you can then, you're able to go in and pick the class you want. And so if hopefully you'll have a chance to take the class for 10U and 12U, the classes this weekend with John Freeman. He's our coach person. He's gracious enough to offer the class. And I have the dates down here. So for coach certification, the online component, field component. So if you're doing 10U, it's on the 28th this Saturday from 3:30 to 5 at Hawthorne. And if you're in the 12U, that's on the same day, but it's from 9:30 to 3. And so those are the two opportunities you have to take the coach training in SLO. Otherwise, you're going to have to leave the area to leave the region to do it. So I believe there's one in Nipomo. I think I mean, if you look on the list, they're everywhere. Well, not literally, but there are quite a few.
David, can I chime in for just a moment?
Yes.
On the screen, it says 12U online component plus field component. It's actually online component plus classroom component, which we'll do outside, plus field component. And that's why it's such a long time. The Nipomo one talks about they have online they're showing their field component time. They aren't showing when the live classroom course will happen, whether they do it by Zoom or do it face-to-face. And so that part you need to find out more from whoever's giving the course. For a 12U course to be complete, you have to do the 1 hour pre-course work online. You have to do the classroom work, whether it's by Zoom or face-to-face, and you have to do the field component. And so we have the face-to-face and field component are what I'm providing on Saturday.
Thank you.
John, is that also at Hawthorne, the classroom component?
Oh, yes.
Yes, it is. I'm going to bring a television and have it just outside. And so we'll be by the picnic tables, provided I have power outside.
Great.
Get a bicycle or something and someone could ride it while you're there with the generator. But yeah, I apologize. I was making these slides and I think I left off to put at Hawthorne. So yes, also there. But thank you, John, for clarifying that. I appreciate that. Now, one question for you, John. Are you good? Do they give out coach manuals anymore, or is everything online?
Now they are online.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what the ordering practices are these days for paper ones, but when you do your pre-work online, it then gives you a connection so you can download your manual. So it's a downloadable form or it's in a downloadable form, and that'll be true for the 10U who do an online component, and it's true for 12U when you do your online pre-component.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's
Sure.
I found that coach manual, and I'm sure it's probably just similar to the one I used back then, and it's very has a lot of good information in it. So I would say that if you're new to coaching, by all means, look at that manual and also the internet. There's so much information out there about if you're not sure about how to keep them happy. I mean, and John will go all over this in his class, but what I found from coaching is the main thing is to not do any one drill for too long. They get bored quickly. So just change it up a lot. There's so many things you can practice with soccer. So, just use your imagination and, whatever you do, it's going to be right. I mean, the kids don't know any different. So just have confidence and you'll be fine. All right. So if going down the food chain, 14U already had its intermediate class and so some of you have taken that, and then there's if you're really excited, you can get the advanced class if you want to coach 16U. You can actually coach 16 and 19U with an advanced. National is like the high level, and only Jose Rangel is the only person I know of in this region who has a national coach. So I took the advanced coach because I coached the 16U a couple of years ago. It was good, but I mean, again, it's unfortunately with the age, they really drop off after 14U. I think we're going to be able to field a boys team and a girls team this year in 16U, which is usually we have 1 or 2 teams in each gender, but be it as it may, that's what we have. So anyway, that's that if you want to go forward in your coaching career. All right, so first day is September 18th. So we try to keep our calendar online as updated as we can. And so if you go to our website, you'll see the calendar there and click on it. And so we try to list things on there that'll be of interest to you guys. So our first game, 18th, field setup. So by the time we get around the first game, we'll have had the schedules made. We've been hustling to get the teams built, and now we're going to take on the task of actually scheduling. And so, but some of the things to be aware is if you have an early game, then you're going to be responsible for setting up the field. So the first game of the day sets up the field. So if it's 10U, that's going to be building the goals and putting the corner flags in. 12U uses a full size goals. And so that's going to be a matter of rolling the goals if they're not in place, and then also putting the nets on the goals. And then the second to the last game of the day, we usually ask that you help break down the ref tent. As you know, every week we have a couple of tents out there for the referees and for also just the administration to set up their stuff and have everything there. And it does take quite a bit of effort to put all that together if there's only a few people. So, and again, this is not stuff that feel like we're asking you to do. We're asking, if you could maybe ask your parents if they could stick around and help a little bit. And so I really encourage you guys to involve your parents in this. You guys have stepped up your coaching, and we're eternally grateful for that. And now it's time to ask the parents to step up and help out too. So once at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we get everything put away, everything goes back in the trailer, which we lock and leave it there, and we roll up our trash cans. And so we actually rent trash cans from Slow Recycle. Otherwise, the field becomes very messy. People leave their stuff everywhere. So try to encourage the parents to use the trash cans and police your area after you've finished your game. Look around and see, did someone forget a water bottle? Now, this year and for snacks, we're not going to have any communal oranges. So because of COVID, we've been asked to, if you say have oranges at halftime, then they need to be in individual bags that are handed out to each player, as opposed to having like a big bowl of grapes or something like that. And the same goes with the after game snack. It's more of an issue with the younger kids, but they need to be individual, and they can't be, I think you said, Tina, nothing homemade.
Yeah, no like cookies or cupcakes. It all needs to be individually wrapped, basically like you bought from the store in the bags. If it's a bag of chips, granola bars, they all need to be individually wrapped. So, and each kid needs to have their own water bottles, which I mean they normally do anyways, but more so now than before.
Okay, great, thank you. So here's a close-up of the field. This is normally the field A can be broken down into 2 10U fields, but for most of the season last season, we kept A as a 12U field the whole day, and we would just alternate boy, girl until all the games were played. And then the upper field we used for 14U and 12U, and then of course the 19U, but that's mostly going to be on Wednesday nights. We do plan on having some Wednesday night games with 14U and possibly some 12U. That's in the works, but I don't have any details of that at this point. So this actual table here is going to be at the game or at the field. So if your parents aren't sure, they can look. We have a blown up version of this sitting on the table under the pop-up tent. So just to tell them where they are. So parking. So
Go back there.
Parking is an issue, as you know. The lot gets filled up quickly. We will, if you park in Marigold Shopping Center, there's a high probability. I don't know. Well, I'm not going to say what the probability is, but we're not supposed to park there, and you can get towed away. So don't park over there. So we can use on Saturday. We can use the south lot here. That's the lot that's on the other side of Cesslock, the south side of Cesslock. And so I've never seen that lot full too. So we've usually been okay between the two. In the past, we've had a volunteer who's actually guarded the north lot to keep people from parking there. But unfortunately, someone was rude to that person and we no longer have them. And now we have to pay to hire private security to guard that lot to make sure parents don't park there. Also, on Industrial Way, be aware that Industrial Way, when you first drive in, there is a sign that says no parking past this point. So if you're parking close to Broad, about, I don't know if it's 50 feet or so, they will give you a ticket. They like to come by and give tickets because it's a revenue stream for the city. So just be aware of that. All right. So practice fields. Now, as it is now, we have, let me pull all this up. There we go. Bellevue, Santa Fe, we do not have permission to practice there. Teach and Pacheco are off limits. Hawthorne, we have every day. CL Smith, Friday only. Sinsheimer, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Bishop Peak, every day, but it has to be after 6 p.m. And Laguna Middle School, Upper Fields only, Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays, priority to 14U. If space, then 12U. Now, Mike Freeman has been so gracious as to make a Google Doc listing all the different places that we can practice. And I will probably go in and edit some places we can't practice, but the idea is we're going to send this out first to the 14U teams, then to the 12, and they'll make their way down. And then so that people can look at where other people are practicing and sign up. Now, the sheet is meant to be, a guide to who's practicing where. I'm not going to police it. So if you have, multiple people practicing on the same field, I'm leaving it to the coaches to kind of work around each other and figure it out. But one of the things that's really important this year is that for the schools is that we cannot have parents going to the practices. And I think, Tina, you mentioned that last time. Why don't you explain that in a little more detail?
So the district has asked that during practices, it is only the coaches and the players, no siblings, no parents, no grandparents. So their suggestion is, and we have pictures of each of the school sites that we will upload to our website. When you make your initial email or a phone call to your team, let the parents know that you will be meeting them at whichever gate, say Hawthorne, on like Sandercock at 3:30. If they are more than 5 minutes late, to have them text you, and that you will make sure to meet them out. And that then at the end of practices, you will escort all your players out the gate, that they are not allowed on any of the school properties. If they want to sit in their cars, like at Hawthorne, there is no parking lot. They can sit on the sidewalk, they can sit in their cars and watch, but they cannot be on the school property at all. And that all the bathrooms are off limits. So each school site will have a honey hut. And once they get delivered, I will go around and put padlocks on each of them. And then each of the coaches will be notified what the code is. If you have a player going to the bathroom, make sure you unlock it right away and that you put it right back. Don't leave it open for your whole practice. But our biggest thing is no parents on the school properties, no siblings on playgrounds. We know, obviously, we already are short on field spaces, and we don't want to lose any other school sites because of this. And that's partly why the practice Google Sheet is also important. So if we start getting calls and complaints from certain sites, I can look and see who was there or what teams were there. to contact.
I have a question. Can we request then at that point? Because it does seem a bit of a waste of time or practice time to have the players arrive early. If we're gonna have to meet them at a gate, and then we can still start practice within a reasonable amount of time, or no?
So what they're suggesting is that the coaches show up maybe 10, 15 minutes early to set up your field, and that way you can stand outside and have, meet your players. If you want to, say if you show up at 3:15 and you normally want to start at 3:30, and you could tell your parents just to have them there by 3:20, that's fine.
Okay, I would hate to extend the practice time,
Yeah,
or just want to make the best use of time.
yeah.
Hey, I'm a little unsure. How many days a week are we supposed to practice and for how long?
What age group?
This is U12, right?
Well, this is 10U, 12U, 14U.
Oh,
So
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
12.
probably twice is the norm, 40
Okay.
an hour. I mean, it really,
45.
it's up to you. I mean, I'm not going to mandate what you do with your time. So, you've volunteered. If you can only do one practice a week, then that's what you can do. I mean, I would recommend that you guys ask for help from your parents too.
Yeah.
To help run practices. The thing is that you can't pass practice off unless they're a volunteer and they've gone through the safe haven and all that. They don't have to do the coach training to do a practice, but if they're going to be at the practice and you're not there, they're by themselves, then they have to be a volunteer and they have to have the background and they have to have those three mandates. So.
Really
I just
quick,
didn't know if there was like a normal schedule or we were restricted by any means by how many times we could practice.
Oh, no, that's up to you guys. We leave that to you.
so very quick, for those understanding that and this is Rafael Castillo again, just giving a plug about in terms of how many times I've been a coach for quite some time now. Mondays and Fridays tend to be the least impacted days for practicing. That's where you see the least amount of teams practicing out. But just to note that, especially on Fridays, if you do decide to do practice on Fridays, there is Friday Night Lights going on. So there are quite a few players that I know of are doing cross between both Friday Night Lights on Friday and soccer on Saturday. But again, typically Monday and Fridays tend to be the least impacted days in terms of practice and availability of fields.
Thank you, Rafael. Okay. So as far as the other city fields practice, you can go to the city fields. There's no permit required, but if someone does have a permit and shows up, then you of course have to leave or give the field to them. Damon Garcia, Slow High, Taylor, absolutely no practices. We only have permit for Damon Garcia for Wednesday night and Saturday. Cal Poly Cuesta, Slow County Parks, no practice either.
Hey, David,
Yes.
with the city fields, is it the same concerns about parents staying in their cars and such, or is that just at the permitted fields?
That's just at the permitted fields as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tina, but yeah, the city fields
Yeah.
don't have any mandate like that. So yeah, if you're at a city field, all the parents can pile out there. I mean, of course, we're going to hope for good COVID social distancing, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but we don't have permits. We don't take permits out for the city fields. And then you just have to remember too that they do start closing them before our season is over. So
To
just
reseed.
so just keep that in mind. The other thing, which I just thought of, is hopefully if we get rain, I will be notified by the district, hopefully first thing in the morning, by lunchtime, I'm hoping. And hopefully by then we will post something on our website that the fields are closed or what's going on. And if we, find out that there might be an issue at one of the school sites too, that Google Sheet will help us be able to contact the coaches that have practices at that site. So,
Yeah, that'll be help. But yeah, when we've had rain in the past, sometimes we wouldn't even know until Saturday morning at 6 a.m., at which point Heather, the former RC, would post it on the website saying games are canceled, because you just don't know. But
yeah.
rain is such an unheard of thing lately that it's hard to fathom. But if we do have it. So this is the copy, just a screenshot of the Google Doc that Mike Freeman created. And so again, it'll be sent out. You guys will have a chance to take a look at it. I may edit out some areas based on our restrictions, but otherwise it's a good way for everybody to kind of have an idea of who's where. And so
I'm updating it now with some of the things I saw on the availability.
oh, thank you, Mike. Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. So any what was I going to say is yeah, any questions about that, you can just shoot your division coordinator email or give me a holler, however it works. All right, so this is kind of, we've already said this, I think. Yeah, so coaches, we've already mentioned this. Share, always have your practice permits and medical release forms with you. So normally on tonight, normally I would have, after I finished my spiel, I would have given you guys your coach bags and rosters. So it's a little different this year. The coach bags, I'll get to that shortly, but the rosters, I'm actually, instead of handing them out, I'm going to be emailing them to the division coordinators, who are then going to email them to you. Now, the good thing is that we don't have to kill thousands of trees like in the past. Each player only has a single sheet that's a medical release, and that's it. So I'm pushing it on to the coaches that each coach is required to print the medical release forms for their players. So, I mean, the most would be, say, 15 for 14U, and those must be kept with them at all times. On the first day of opening days, on September 18th, all coaches will present the medical forms and their rosters, and we'll go through, check off the teams. You'll have your whole team there ready to go only on the first day. After that, we won't check you each week. It's just the first day. But we do check again when we get to the tournament, but that's down the road. But as far as the forms, just keep them in a folder in your bag and have them with you at all times. Okay.
And actually, the first day, they don't need the players. They just need to make sure they have the forms and everything.
Oh, so I don't need the players with them. Okay, thanks
Yeah.
for correcting that. All right. That makes it a little easier. All right. Referees. Mark, you want to take over?
Sure. You guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so just I guess a little background about me. I've been either coaching or refereeing in AYSO since 2012, not quite as long as David or Todd or any of the other guys, but about 5 years ago, I got interested in the refereeing part of it. It seemed like there was a big need for it in our region, so I kind of dove into that instead of the coaching and really enjoyed it and got a lot of exercise. So I'm just kind of stuck with it since then. Just going to give you guys a little bit of an overview. We cover a lot more in our referee trainings and the returning referee night, but for the purposes of this, just kind of want to go a brief overview of the refereeing stuff. So for every game, we try to cover, two referees one referee, 2 ARs for every game. Anyone that's coached before knows that isn't always the case because we never have enough referees. Afternoon games seem to be a little tougher to fill, but when we don't have the 2 ARs, we'll ask a parent or somebody to be a club linesman on the side and have them just raise the flag whenever the ball goes out of bounds and just cover the games that way. But just as a segue to that, I guess, if you guys can ask your parents or anybody else involved there that, if they can referee or volunteer, we provide all the training, all the referee gear, even provide lunch on game days. So it's not that bad of a gig, but I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable, but again, we'll train everybody. We'll give them everything they need to be successful. So please push that on the parents and ask them to help out if they can.
And one thing, Mark, we won't throw you guys in new refs. We don't throw you in on a 14U game either. You guys will start out in a nice 8U or 10U, something really easy going.
Right, and as far as that goes as well, you can sign up for as many or as few games as you want. You can skip 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks if you want. You can say, oh, I'm going to be here early for this game. I'm going to just sign up and ref that one, and I'll coach the next one. Whatever. It's kind of up to you to make your own schedule, just via Google Sheets sign-in sheet every week. So very flexible. And at the very least, if you guys can at least encourage the parents to stay positive and not yell at the referees. That's one of our biggest issues is referee retention, because nobody likes getting yelled at when they're volunteering to help people out. So please just keep that in mind and reinforce that to the parents as well. I guess next slide, David. Oh man, you're
Sorry.
I'm not sure what these, David, you
I'll just say, I apologize to Mark, as I made the slides. He hasn't seen them, so he's kind of going off what I wrote, and I changed a little bit. But I just want to point out that the guidelines for referees, the way it works in AYSO, if you are interested in becoming referees, we start off 8U regional referee. We start off with regional referee. That's what most referees are. And once you've done that for a year, there's a class to become an intermediate. And technically by OSO guidelines, a 12U would be an intermediate. All 12U games would be ref by intermediates. Well, that's not reality. 14Us would all be ref by advanced. 19U, 16U would be advanced or nationals. So in reality, we have one national in the entire region. We have 2 advanced, Mark and myself, and a handful of intermediates. And so we really need refs, and we also need refs that are currently regionals to go ahead and upgrade, because that'll be a big issue in All-Stars. Okay, next slide.
Yep. So the training opportunities, we've got our first class August 31st at Laguna. We've got another one before the season at Damon Garcia on September 8th. And then September 7th, I believe, whatever that Wednesday is. And then we've got 2 after the season, because there always seems to be people that realize how short we are in referees once the first game or 2 of the season starts, and then realize that how much help we need, and they'll be willing to volunteer at that point. So we always have a couple after the season starts as well. So just real quick, I guess, to become a referee, you got to do all the same stuff for the coaching, the safe haven, concussion training, and cardiac arrest. And then you've got an online referee course, as well as an in-person field training that takes 2.5 to 3 hours typically. And we usually hold them on a weeknight and go over just field positioning, signaling, and all that stuff. And once everyone's complete, we provide the uniform, the socks, the whistle, the ref wallet, the cards, all that stuff. So all you got to really do is buy the shoes to go with it. Next slide, David.
So do you want to, was this part of the ref stuff? Because it was in that.
No, I got rid of these slides. They're really not, it's not really worth covering at the coach's meeting.
Okay, let's skip. That's fine by me. All right. So the only thing I'll say, I remind you guys, everybody, that the scores are kept, but the record isn't important. The end of season tournament decides who's first place. In the tournament, the behavior of parents, coaches, and the team can influence. You can actually lose points if you have a yellow or a red card in the season. And again, no hard casts or splints. Runaway score. I did want to bring that up because we do see that sometimes where a team will just dominate another team and it'll be 5-0. It's very demoralizing to the kids to have a team win by 10-0. And you see it. I mean, you watch the U.S. women team beat, I think it was Thailand, 13-0. And when they'd scored goal 12, they were celebrating just as much as goal 1. And I don't want to model that behavior. I think and I think most of you will agree that that's just no fun for anyone. So if you get to a point where you're 4 or 5 goals ahead, and it's, it's obvious it's a one-sided game, then switch up play, move people around or force them to do 2 touches each before they shoot, just make it more challenging. I don't want to say don't score anymore, but just, I think it's self-explanatory, but and we'll be watching for that. I mean, if we see generally what and Mark will agree is that the referees will, if we're reffing a younger age group and there is something like this, the ref's probably going to come to the coach at the halftime or before and say, hey, what's your plan? And just be aware of that's what they're talking about. All right.
And on that note, I guess, David, to just, a couple of suggestions. A lot of times people will say, hey, they'll go tell their kids, make sure you guys complete 6 passes before you can take a shot, or something of that nature to kind of slow the pace down a little bit. And, they can still play and have fun. The other team can still play, but it's less of a blowout that way and everybody can enjoy themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you have to add, if you notice the 7 touches is still not helping, maybe put it to 10, or I don't know, make them do spins. I don't know.
They have to score while doing a handstand facing
Yeah.
goal, something on that. All right. Okay, game cards. Go ahead, Mark.
There's not a whole lot to cover here. Basically,
I'll just go to
you can
the
click-
final one.
Yeah. If you guys all get your game cards, if you can type them up, that's great. If you want to handwrite them, that's fine too. Just make them legible, because so the region number, it's always going to be the same. All we really ask is that you fill out the things that aren't going to change every week. So even the date, you can leave that blank. I don't care. The referees can fill that in. Just the region number, the age group, your name as a coach, and then your player's name in number order. And then their name as it appears on, the registration forms as well, because again, part of the whole end of season tournament is to confirm that the players on that team have actually played in AYSO for a certain number of games. They didn't just show up at the end of season tournament and help the team win and get them to move on. So all that stuff gets looked at the end of the season. So if you guys can just fill that stuff in, per this display here, that'll be a big help, and nobody needs to kind of scramble on game day and
And the big
slow the
thing is,
games down.
make sure where it says team name, that's always your last name. So that's how we know what teams are what.
Well, the coach's name part is
Yeah.
right. The team
Yeah.
doesn't really. You
Yeah.
can put if you're the Butterflies or the Pink Dragons or the whatever Yellow Unicorns. That go ahead and fill that in if you want, but it's not critical. We just definitely need the coach's name on there somewhere.
Yeah.
And make sure that if you do, because the template for this is online on our website. So in order, the way the template works is one side is already filled out, and one side is blank on the template. And so in order to do that, you have to be given these, they're basically legal size cards that are perforated, and we'll get some of those made up for the coaches, and they're 4 to each one. So you really only need 2 or 3 for the whole season. Just make sure that if you do print it and you don't use that card, if you print it, it won't have the back side, and which we really need for writing incidents and notes on, but also it has to be on cardstock. I've had coaches print it on binder or normal 50-pound paper or 20-pound paper, and it's awful. So that's another thing, and we'll remind you of that. The refs will remind you of that as it goes.
And the best thing is
Will
when
we
you
be
hand
provided
out.
with those?
What?
You said we'll be provided with those?
Yes.
Yes, the card. So normally what we do is we'll give out at the beginning of the season, we'll give out blank cards that are front and back. They're empty, and so that way you can fill them out and you have a few. Then we'll also provide a legal size sheet that has perforation, so it's easy to it holds 4 game cards, and it'll have it'll be printed on the back side of this card is the same. It doesn't have any information about the game on it. It's only for the refs to write on. So that part will be pre-printed on the card we give you. And then when you print it on your printer, this part you can fill out. It's a PDF. You just fill it out and then you can just print it. And when I coached, what I would do is I'd leave everything in there except the opposing team and the date. And then I would just fill that in. Or, I mean, you could put the date subsequent weeks if you're really retentive, but either way. And what I would suggest too is when you do print them, try a practice with like a piece of paper just to know the orientation of your printer so that you don't waste them. So just an idea.
Make sure when you hand out your uniforms, you are writing down who has what number, because that's what we needed in numeric order, not random.
Alphabetical, not alphabetical. That makes it a really pain for the refs. So thanks. Okay.
And David, just to clarify,
Sure.
are those cards to be provided with the coach bags?
Yes.
We should have them by then. Yes. Thank you, Tina. So team management, is there anything else you want to say, Mark?
No, just one, I guess this is usually more applicable to 8U, 10U. And I know 10U's on here. So just, especially the girls teams, the jewelry, advise your parents, kids, everybody, do not get your ears pierced at the beginning of the season, because I know you're not supposed to take the earrings out for, 6 weeks or whatever the case may be. And every year there's 1 or 2 kids that do it, and they say, well, if I tape it, is it okay? If I do this, is it okay? It's not okay. It's for the player's safety. They won't be allowed to play if they have earrings in. So please let them know, don't get your ears pierced at the beginning of the season or during the season.
Thank you, Mark. So
Yep.
in terms of team management, as I said, your rosters will be coming to you shortly. I'm hoping to get them all out to the division coordinators by the weekend, if not sooner. But I have a lot of things to download from Sports Affinity. So once you get those, I would, as soon as you can, reach out to your team. Your roster will basically contain all the contact information for each player. And then I would have schedule some kind of a parent meeting, whether you want to have it at a park or at practice, assuming practice isn't at a school. Talk to them, meet them, set the tone. That's usually what I try to do when I coach is just tell the team, my expectations, pick your kid, drop your kid off on time, have them ready to play, don't drop them off at the start of practice, and then they're not even not wearing their cleats or their shin guards or anything. And then they have to spend 10 minutes getting ready. Just however, depending on how casual, again, it's how you want to run it. But I would say the things that you want to do, convey that to the parents, because you're taking your time to coach. So it's your right to say, hey, this is how I want things done. Please, support me. And then ask them for volunteers. It's good to have a team parent that can coordinate snack, make calls, whatever. Have someone plan the end of the season party, coordinate pictures, whatever. So you do that. The other thing, assistant coach. And so that's, I know that can be kind of a pain for the younger kids to require both a coach and assistant coach, but that comes from above, higher on the food chain. So if you don't have a coach and assistant coach that are both trained in their respective 10U, 12U, 14U, then you can't progress the end of season tournament, nor can you go on to play in the area tournament. That's not our Tina and I's decision. That comes from above. So we agree with it or not, it's what we have. So just make sure you got everything before. Now, you don't have to have the training before the season starts. Of course, it's nice if you can, but you need to have the safe haven, the other stuff, the safe haven, the cardiac arrest, the concussion before I can give you your roster. All right.
And if you get it all done before the first day, the first games on the 18th, then we'll have something for you at the ref tents.
There you go. Yeah, cash money, maybe.
And also, once you get your rosters, make sure that everyone contacts your players by September 3rd, because they've already started calling and emailing us, David and I, about practices and about games and places.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get it, make sure if you're emailing, make sure that they respond to you. Can you guys make sure you're muted?
Hey, Tina, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So regarding fields, if we have a significant number of players that
Mhm.
are located near a specific field, is there a way for us to submit a field permission request or something of that sort so that we can actually get access to that field?
So the Google Docs is really just a guideline. So if, say 7 teams show up at the same field, just everyone has to be accommodating and try to share it and figure it out.
No, I'm not asking that question. I was asking more in regards to just accommodating students that,
Oh,
they're
It's up
in
to
that
you.
neighborhood.
Yeah. It's up to you. If it's easier for you to have practice at a certain site, then that's your choice. Yeah.
Okay, so then
She-
how do
but
we
I
go
think-
about that?
But I think you're asking is how do you get a permit? So I guess it'd help. if-
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's a school that you're asking about, then we've pretty much already told you which schools you can play and not play at. So I'm just curious, what is this a school you're talking about, or is it a church, or is it some?
Yeah, no, CL Smith, I just was talking to the principal and apparently there was only a request made for one day of the week,
Yeah,
but
because
it's a
there's
very large space.
there's another organization that has them the other days.
And are they not allowed to share the space or?
So we are part of a group called YSA, and so it's all of San Luis's youth activities, kind of soccer, baseball, softball, football, rugby. And so we have meetings every couple months and we kind of hash out and go over who needs the field for what time during each season. So that's partly how we got our fields. So the other fields are already being used by another group at Smith. So we just have Fridays for now.
Permit's only valid on Friday at CL Smith, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's.
As a coach, are we allowed to try to expand that permit or no?
No, we have to just stick to it. Because we can lose, if you guys start showing up on other days, we can lose our permits that we have altogether. But I will contact Aaron and talk to him and see if maybe I can add a couple days and then we'll send out another email if there's been extra days added.
Awesome.
They have a meeting at the beginning of this season, like Tino's saying, kind of carving out who's where. And so it's just the same as if we have Hawthorne on a certain day, it's for AYSO, and if baseball starts showing up or whatever, then it becomes an issue. So we would really prefer that that you just stick with the places that we have active permits for. But like Tina says, if there's a possibility of expanding, we'll of course try it. So I want to try to get through this because we're almost 8:30 and I don't want to keep you guys any longer. So team management continued, practice schedule, tell the parents where you're going to practice. Obviously you're the coach, you make the practice schedule, you when and where. If at Damon Garcia, please no banners that have stakes that go into the ground. That's because of the irrigation system. Always have your prior medical release form and ask your parents about the year-end celebration. How do they want to do that? So these are things you can just push back on the parents. All right, so our safety person is Celia. Celia Uribe, said it right? And so right now we're just going with the current COVID guidelines that the county has given. And so we don't have any special guidelines that have been mandated by AYSO. They've deferred it back to the county. What we're saying is that we recommend is if a coach is not vaccinated, that he or she please wear a mask during practice, and even though it's outside. But other than that, we're just going by it. And so as it's constantly evolving, we'll be updating our website as things change. But for now, we're just use good common sense. All right. As far as the other things, goal safety, that just means please no one climb on the goals at Damon Garcia, especially siblings of players. They're not jungle gyms. Be aware of concussions. You've already had the class, so I'm not going to go over that. Insurance, if there's some kind of an injury, coaches are covered by secondary insurance through AYSO. If you have an issue with that, the claim form is on the website. Reach out to Tina or I for more info on that, or actually Celia can give you more info, and Tina. As far as incident reports, if you have a player injured at practice or a game, we ask that you fill out this. Now, we're not talking about, paper cut. We're talking about anything that requires, the player to be removed from the game, any type of concussion, any type of, twisted ankle, broken bone, whatnot. We just ask you to submit this. It's not so we can scold you. It's just so we can keep track of it. All right. End of season tournament. There's still, we haven't really got the schedule yet, but tentatively, these are the dates that I have down for the tournament based on the schedule. This is the weekend before Thanksgiving. We always try to finish before, but if we have rain dates, if it rains, then we may have to push it forward the next weekend. And then, of course, the top teams advance. So more information will be on that. We don't have to worry about the tournament yet. So All-Stars, our coordinator is Jesse Pereira. We're not going to talk about All-Stars just yet. There'll be more information available about that. One of the things with All-Stars, though, is if you are interested, if your parent is a referee or a volunteer, then that is going to help in terms of becoming on an All-Star team. Referees especially, because they need them and they have to be at a certain level. But that's something that Mark will cover in the referee meeting. So again, if you're interested in being a referee, please contact Mark. He'll tell you more about that. Okay. The Surf and Turf is our tournament that we do for All-Stars, and more details on that. So again, I'm not going to cover that here because by then we've all forgotten it anyway. One thing I will say, though, is that currently Tina is the director. If you would like to help with that, or if you want to ask your parents, especially if you end up some of your kids end up in All-Stars, please ask your parents, because it's a lot of work for Tina and it takes many hands to get this thing running. All right, coaches' bags. That's normally why you come to this meeting. The distribution will be after the Labor Day. The reason being is that with everything changing with COVID, there is a possibility, albeit I hope far remote and won't happen, that the season may not happen. I don't know it, but I don't have my crystal ball. So we're holding on to the uniforms for now until after the 6th. You don't really need them until then anyway. But other thing is we just got them. We just got the boxes, and it's going to take a little bit to sort them. Yeah. So each coach will get a coach bag with the uniforms, 3 game balls. These are game balls, not really meant for practice, meant for the games, a ball pump, first aid kit, ice packs. And you'll also be getting an additional package that contains wipes and
Sanitizers.
hand sanitizer. Yes. If needed, we don't usually give 12U and 14U especially, we don't usually give you guys cones because most coaches by that point have tons of cones. But if you want cones, you'll be available. So the way it'll work is we'll be distributing them at the SLO Business Center. I'll get the exact address to you guys if you don't know it through your division coordinators. But on a day that I'll announce, you'll be able to go there. You'll tell Brad Dolezal, he owns it. He's graciously volunteered to have that as a location, and his admin will then check you off a list. I'll have a list of all the coaches. She'll check you off. You'll grab your bag. Bag will be, and then you'll take it. And then we'll also have cones and things there. So if you need cones, by all means, grab them. Pennies, grab them. Or we might hand those out. I'm not sure, but point being is that if you need something, ask for it. We'll get it to you. We just don't give lots of cones out because most people have them by this age. But if you need them, by all means. let's see, anything else? Uniforms. If you need any, if your uniforms aren't correct, or if there's something, you know, you have too many smalls, please contact Tina. Make sure that you hold on to this little pink tag. So every uniform set comes with a unique number that tells the score, the people who make them, the exact type of uniform, or the whatever you call their code or whatever. So you can't just say, hey, I have a green uniform, you know, I need another one. So hold that tag. That's the only way we'll be able to track it down, because we have 100 teams. How else are we going to do it?
If you send me an email saying that you need an extra uniform or a different size, make sure you screenshot that paper when you send me that information, because that means I can contact them sooner rather than wait a couple more hours or days for you to
Yes.
send that to me. So add that in the email of what you need and that code, so I know exactly what color socks and what jersey color or style it is.
Yes. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Our website, if you need more information, there's Tina, there's my emails. AYSO, the website aysovolunteers.org has a lot of information on it. Check it out. Ready, Set, Play Soccer. I think if you Google that, you'll find some information. There's a lot of information out there about coaching. I mean, just call the internet, find what you can.
And then David, I made just a
Yes.
few notes along the way. This is John Freeman. Is it okay
Oh yeah,
if
absolutely.
I,
Absolutely.
if I touch
Yeah.
on a couple of things?
If I miss some things, by all means, go ahead.
No, I just a couple clarifications that I think will help. What Rafael Castillo was asking about was if you have an over roster, or if you have a 10U team with 10 players, then you end up having 2 players play only half the match if they all show up. If you have 12U team with 13 players, you end up having 4 players, if they all show up, play only half the match. If you have a 14U team with 15 players, then 1 player plays half the match. One of the ideas with everyone plays is, if you're running into this situation by being over rostered, try to keep track of who was the half game player and try and rotate through and let every player be the half game player. So one player isn't always, oh, I'm the half game player. It becomes important when you get to end of season tournament, because there the requirement is you can't have the same player be the half game player until all players have been the half game player. So that changes from match to match to match. You realize what your available players are who can play 3 quarters. So I wanted to talk about that. Second thing, if the practice site is super crowded, so you find you show up and 6 other coaches all show up, see if another coach ideally has a team that is comparable, close in age, same age, same gender works easiest, but doesn't have to be, and see if you can work together sharing a field. You can each run drills on half of the field and then spend some time actually scrimmaging with each other. I know we've done that in the past with other coaches, and we've had a great time doing that. But that's a great way you can try and share a too crowded field. With regard to no parent at practice, if you are coaching players who are a different gender from you, then you're supposed to have one volunteer who's got to be an AYSO registered volunteer who is of the same gender as the players be at practice. So I know one that came about 10 years ago, and that year I was coaching girls under 8, and we had one of the girls there, Nana. So Nana always showed up to every practice, and I still see Nana around town, and she gives me a hug. But that's one of those exceptions for a parent being on the field, because you need to meet that requirement as well. Lastly, with regard to all-stars and getting referees, especially if you're a 10U coach and you have any players on your team who seem like they would be a good candidate for all-stars, or they seem interested, or their parents say that they are interested, try and get those parents, encourage them to become referees. If you're a 12U coach and any of the kids who are on the team who are youngers, but who show a lot of promise, or their parents are very interested, try and get those parents to become referees. That's the best time to start getting getting parents involved as the first level of referee. And then they can grow in the ranks as their kids move up in the abilities. That's it. That's all I had. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, John. John's our coach coordinator, our coach instructor. And thank you for that. There's a few things that I didn't say, and so that's very helpful. I know we're over a little bit of time. Any last questions anyone has?
Yeah, when can we actually start our first practice? I think
As soon as you want. As soon as you get your roster, you can call them, and as long as you have everything. Well, you won't get your roster unless you have that, but yeah. So as soon as you get your roster, basically, you can call them up and start practicing.
Thank you.
We get our permits go in effect on Monday at the district. So
Yeah, I think you're going to probably get it by Friday at the earliest. So
yeah.
And then you can call everybody.
Also, if you email me, I am in the classroom working until 3:30, 4 o'clock every day. So, and I have 3 kids of my own. So I will not be getting back to my emails until about 8:30 at night. So you will have a response by the next morning. But if it's something urgent, try David also and just email both of us, and one of us will be able, hopefully, to get to you sooner.
Yeah, I teach at Poly, so my schedule is a little more open. So yeah, if you really need to talk to me, it is really very important. You can call me on my cell phone. It is on the signature file of my emails, and so most of you probably have it. If you don't, it's 805-234-7081. So, but yeah, if it's really important, call me. Otherwise, I prefer email. So. Anything else?
So just to recap, we should expect our rosters by when?
This weekend. That's my target.
Perfect.
All right. And again, if you have questions about stuff that comes up after, email your DCs. They should be able to answer. If they can't, email me. Your district or your division coordinators will probably get back to you sooner than I am, just because I get quite a few emails every day, but we'll get it taken care of one way or another. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, thank you guys for coming tonight. And let's get ready for a great season, and I'll see you on the field. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Guys.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.